Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We have another GreenShift repeater block video for you. In this video, we're just going to show you how to custom style and change up the layout for your repeater block, because it'll come out as a vertical list. And if you wanted to customize how things are laid out, whether it's a grid or it's a horizontal row or a vertical row, and change up all of the fonts and colors and all of that, we're going to show you how to do that. And also at the end, we're going to show you the test data feature in order to make sure that whatever you're getting on the front end is what you're actually taking from in the back end. So far, this video has been concerned primarily with the functionality of the dynamic repeater and the meta-getter within GreenShift. Now you can see once we set everything up, we have our relationships, our ACF fields, and we have our data, and it's repeating nicely, and we've laid it out with our typography and fonts and sizes and so on. It looks really good, but by default, it just stacks out our repeater data just like this. What if we wanted to put this into a more interesting manner? Because sometimes you don't really want to have everything just like this on your website, right? So all we have to do is, we're here on our dynamic repeater block. We'll scroll down here to local styles, and over here, right, you'll see these four squares in a box layout. It's called layout, and we can change it on normal, hover, or on focus or active, and then we can change how this looks like on desktop, tablet, or mobile. Okay, but right now we'll just be concerned about the default one. And there's a few different display options to choose from. So we can just hide this, right? So we can completely just hide this on how this looks like on mobile, right? Or we can go ahead and go with the default one, which is inline. We can turn this into an inline block, as you can see, and we can turn this into simply a block. We can enable inline flex, right? And then there's some layout presets here that you can choose from, and we can change the ratios between these. We can enable snap. We can change the content alignment, as you can see. We can enable a flex box, as you can see, and then we can choose which layout we want. Okay, there you go. Real nice and simple. And we can change the layout of these, like how they're supposed to look like, right? And we can adjust them accordingly, and we can also align the items inside, and we can also change how it wraps. Okay, and you can see we have some other options here, such as grow, shrink, alignment, and gaps. And then over here we have grid, and we can click on enable grid builder, and then we can auto detect it, right? 5, we can put 6, but it's not going to do anything, right? And we can change how much columns there are for desktop, tablet, and mobile. So we can also allow overlap. We can change the compact type. We can generate the layout, and that's how it's going to look like. And when we move over to tablet, it's automatically going to change to 3 boxes. And if we changed over to mobile, it's going to be just 1 column. So basically inline. But again, this is the layout, which is, oops, not this one, which is adapting to our view. Okay, so if you wanted to mess with that, you have a bunch of different options to choose from. Again, we have our spacing options, and we can also edit. Where these things go. So you see, we have our each one of these, right? So our price, we can put it over here. We can put our image over here. We can change how many we have over here, all right? And then again, we can change our row gaps and column gaps. Let's go ahead and show you how those look like. Excuse me. And we can change our automatic alignment and everything, and so on and so forth. So that's how you're supposed to organize or rearrange or design in such a way that each one of your layout items comes out looking really nice, and it takes up less space on your website, and it looks much nicer than just having everything in line if it doesn't need to be, right? So we'll stick with that. We'll click on publish, and let's take a look at how it looks like on the live site. And here's our menu, and it's very easy and simple to use. We have our titles over here, we have our images and our prices, rather than the original, which was just inline. Okay, it's a bit easier to read now, and you can probably put headers here, and you can manually insert item name, image, or like price over here on the top if you wanted to. Okay. For this segment, we're going to be talking about a very useful feature in the GreenShift repeater block, and that is the test data feature. So in this example, we have a list of books with title, author, and ISBN as their fields. And if we go over here to SCF, we have our field groups. We click on book details, which is what we call it. Our field group has book title, author, and ISBN. They're all set up basically the same way. Okay. And over here, we also have a custom post type called books. And if you clicked on one of these, you're going to see that we have, it's basically blank, right? But here we have the fields to input the book details for a book title, author, and ISBN. And back here on the back end, so this is the editor, we have our dynamic repeater over here. We've selected relationship post objects, and we can select either current or latest or definite. For current or latest, it's going to be pulling the data for the backend for the preview over here from our latest page, which is going to be this one. And this one doesn't have any on it, so we won't be getting the right preview. Similarly, at the same time, the current data that we're using here is what will be used for the front end. But in our case, since we have the books type here, post type or page type, will have to be selected from here, right? So page, and then over here, we're going to want to put in our featured books, and it's set up as that. And then once we finally click on test data, here it's going to output all of the important items. So as you can see, for each one of these, right, each one of them has a post ID, and more importantly, we have our page title over here, and it's displaying correctly down over here, even down here. You can see we have our post title, our book title, our author, and our ISBN number, which correlates over here. And this is key so that we can test out if we're pulling the correct data where we want it to be seen, right? And with that, we can clean data, change some things up. Let's say on the back end over here, right? We're going to edit one of these, and we can go ahead and test the data again, and we're going to be able to confirm whether or not we're pulling the correct data. Otherwise, if we didn't set this up correctly, let's say we put this on just book and just didn't point it anywhere, if we tested data, you can see it's going to give us our placeholder data over here. So you got to make sure that you select the correct area where you want to pull your data from, and it's going to display correctly first and foremost over here. But similarly, you're going to be able to see that it works properly on test available data as well. Hey, if you found this video helpful, be sure to check out one of our other videos, or go ahead and check out our channel and subscribe to see more content like this.